Okay, so we're doing an IELTS Task 1 essay, and we're analysing the figures based on our pie chart. So our topic is, the charts below give information on the ages of the populations of Yemen and Italy in 2000 and projections for 2050. Summarise the information by selecting and reporting the main features and make comparisons where relevant. Write at least 150 words. Okay, so the first thing you should do with your task 1 is that you should look at your graphs and look at the data that you've got. Okay, so we've got Yemen in 2000. Well, quickly we can see that we've got sort of youngest, middle-aged, oldest. Okay, so the largest proportion, 50%, is youngest. So it goes youngest, and then it goes middle-aged, and then it goes, the oldest is the smallest. And then at 2050, we've got, it changes slightly. Okay, but the smallest is still old people. And then in Italy, we can see that their biggest proportion was middle-aged. Second is old people, and the smallest group is young people. And then by the end, it's almost the same, but the number of young people has decreased even more. Okay, so the trends we're looking at is that Yemen's population is very young, and there's a slight increase in their age. And in Italy, the elderly population is getting bigger, and the young population is getting smaller. There's a big jump in people aged over 60 years old. So if I was looking at the trends, I would say big increase in those who are 60 plus years old. Small decrease in 0 to 14 years. And then in Yemen, we've got a drop in 0 to 14. We've got a very slight increase in 60 plus. So I'm already thinking I'm probably going to compare those 2 points, and I'm going to compare those 2 points because that's a similarity and a difference. And then I should probably also address the fact that Italy stayed consistent, as this is the biggest portion, and then there was a slight increase in Yemen, the people aged that age. So you've got to think about 2 things when you look at the information. You've got to think, okay, what are 2 or 3 main trends you see in the data? You don't need to talk about every single thing that's in the graph. You don't need to mention every single piece of data. You just need to talk about the main trends or ideas, okay? The other thing we're going to do is go look at the dates. We're going from 2000, which is past, to 2015, which is future. So you've got to make sure that you're careful with your tenses when you're talking, okay, that your grammar's correct. Okay, and then you've got to think, how are you going to structure this essay? A lot of people jump straight into task 1 and just start describing. You've got to be very careful, and you've got to think very clearly about how you're going to structure it. So if I was going to structure this one, you probably have your introduction. This is when you do your paraphrase. Okay, and then this is when you do your overview of the main trends. Okay, body 1, I probably focus on the youth population. Okay, because that's similar. And then body 2, I probably talk about elderly population and middle-aged, because that's a difference between the 2 countries. Okay, let's take a look at what this candidate's done. The first pie chart shows the population of Yemen and Italy in 2000. The second pie chart shows the population projection of Yemen and Italy in 2050. Okay, so we've got their paraphrase. But what we don't have is their overview summary. Okay, so you need to give an overview to get over a 5.0 for your task 1 IELTS. I don't think they've got it later on. Okay, well, they do have an overview kind of here, but they've put it like a conclusion. So this needs to go at the start of your essay, okay, where you summarize the main trends, and then the rest of your essay should be explaining those 2 trends using facts and figures and detail from the graphs. Let's see what else they've done. In 2000, the largest portion of the population was people between 0 to 14 years old in Yemen and people between 15 to 59 years old in Italy. These groups accounted for 51% and 61.6% of the whole population, respectively. We don't need the comma here. You can get rid of that. That's fine. Nothing wrong with that sentence. It is clear that the second largest portion of the population was the age group between 15 to 59 years old in Yemen and the age group older than 60 years old in Italy, and there was a significant difference, which was almost double. Interestingly, it can be noticeable that there was a much bigger difference between the portion of the oldest group age group in Yemen and the portion of the youngest group in Italy, which was tripled. Okay, so here, there's nothing really wrong with the grammar, but what is kind of confusing to read to me is the logic of why they're comparing the sizes of different age groups. So I would recommend that they need to be summarized a little bit more. So, for example, it's clear the second largest portion of the population was the age group, and which was almost double. Okay, so this has been put right at the end, which is sort of confusing, and it's not as focused to the idea of the sentence. So I would say there was a significant difference in the portion in 15 to 59 years old and 60 years old. There was a significant difference in the portion of the second largest age groups. Okay, second largest age groups. There were double the amount of 60-year-olds in Italy. I'm running out of space. Okay, so you can rewrite it. There were double the amount of 60-year-olds in Italy than 0 to 14-year-olds in Yemen. There were double the amount of elderly people in Italy than young people in Yemen. So you want to paraphrase a bit. It's just this kind of repetitiveness of repeating the age groups, and the way that you put this is your key information. That's the key thing. You're saying that is double the amount of old people than young people. That needs to be the focus of your sentence. But there's too much going on. The second largest portion, you've listed one age group and you've listed another age group. There's a significant difference, which was almost double. So that needs to go to the start. I mean, it's not like a bad sentence. I'm just saying that this is something that would make the sentence a bit stronger. Interestingly, it can be noticeable that there was a much bigger difference between the portion of the oldest age group in Yemen and the portion of the youngest group in Italy, which was tripled. I don't like which was tripled. It's passive. Was triple the amount of, okay? Blank the amount of blank, or blank the blank was tripled. And we don't usually say the amount, which was tripled. It sounds too vague and too passive, so I would prefer those two types of sentences, but I'm being a little bit picky. Let's go to the second paragraph. In 2050 in Yemen, the percentage of middle-aged group is expected of middle-aged group, maybe just of middle-aged people, is expected to rise by more than half. In this regard, the percentage of the youngest group will decrease from 51% to 37%, while the oldest group will increase from 3.6 to 5.7 in Yemen. On the other hand, in Italy, the middle-aged population will decline to 46.2%. However, this group will be continuously the majority of the population. Also, the elderly population will account for almost half of the entire population, which will increase by 20%, while the youngest population demolished. Demolished is too strong. It's only a 3% drop to say demolished. Demolished is like totally destroyed. It's much too strong. So I would change that to a slightly, slightly decreased or fell slightly. And we've got overall in both countries, Yemen and Italy, it is notable that I don't think this is the correct use of this piece of punctuation. It's notable that the middle-aged group still remain the main group of the whole population throughout the period, since other age groups will show slight changes throughout the period. We've repeated throughout the period twice, which is not a good thing to do. So overall, I mean, their writing for this candidate was really quite clear and easy to follow. I liked reading it. They had good control of sentence structure. I could see that they were trying to do longer, more complex sentences that was great. So for grammar, I think it was pretty good. I would definitely want to give it a 6 for grammar. Just a couple of minor issues, but not sort of making it that difficult to understand. Vocabulary, there was only really one instance where I thought the vocabulary wasn't that good, and I thought they did a lot of repeating of the age groups a lot throughout the essay, and I thought that they could show off their paraphrasing skills a little bit more, but still I would probably want to give a 6. Cohesion and coherence, missing the proper overview. It was kind of at the end and it wasn't like a proper overview, so I'd probably give a 5.5 for that. Task achievement, I thought they did a good job of explaining and talking about the differences. It didn't really feel logical in the structure. I didn't really get why they split the 2 paragraphs like they did. So I feel like there needs to be like a cohesive theme to the 2 paragraphs. So like I said at the beginning, here is the similar things between them and here are the different things between them. Okay, well, with what I read, it felt just more like this kind of was listing out things that they noticed. So task achievement I thought was okay. So overall, I think I would be happy to give this a 6. I thought the grammar was particularly strong, so I think they should feel really proud of themselves for how they did. Just a little bit more practice. And I would work both on the structure of your task 1, because that's sort of like easy to bump up your score. And I would just work on your task, thinking more about sort of like your logical structure of your information. Like, why are you going to divide it into 2 sections? Make a plan before you start writing. But overall, I thought a pretty good effort.